Kathy of kathysright.com, and welcome. This is Kathy's Right, where you go to listen to things you were told not to talk about when you were growing up. How about that? Actually, all those things that we were not discussing, we weren't discussing them because it was considered impolite back then to discuss religion, faith matters, and politics. But the reality of that was, while we were being polite, the left were screaming loud and clearly all of their errors and all of their sinful ways. So we were polite and hushed, and that's why we're called the silent majority. Silent no more. Make no mistake about it, we can no longer afford to be polite, especially when the left is involved. They changed politeness into political correctness. And political correctness was really their way of controlling what comes out of our mouths. We, the adults. So, in the spirit of anti-political correctness, in the spirit of throwing that in the trash where it belongs, let's get started with Bernie. Now, we discussed last time how Bernie has dropped out of the race. But let's look at that a little bit, because Bernie runs for office for a living. He never had any intention of becoming president, and I feel strongly that he dropped out with full knowledge of a Democratic plan, because I don't believe anyone in their right mind thinks that Joe Biden has his right mind. They're all doing smoke and mirrors. We don't see him talk anymore because every time he does speak, he embarrasses himself, his family, his poor dead parents, his kids. He embarrasses himself. And I know, that people who have this condition really can't help themselves. But you know who can help him? His wife, Jill. Jill should be saying, my husband needs to go home. We have enough money. Let's go enjoy our grandkids. No, Jill is propping him up. I want to know what she's going to get out of this. Because she knows darn well he is in no condition to run this country. They've got him holed up in some basement somewhere, probably, giving him sentences he can say the next time he comes out in public, something like that. But I know that the DNC, in the way that they're so maniacal and diabolical, they have already concocted some sort of plan as to what to do when Joe collapses eventually. He may not even make it to November mentally. I mean, I hope and pray the man stays healthy, but mentally, I don't think he's going to make it till November. He can't even make it through one single interview. So that's going to happen. And Bernie dropping out tells me that he knew he didn't want to be president. I mean, he never really did. He just wanted another house, maybe another boat, another car. He gets a consolation prize every time he does this. So Bernie was in it for that. But what is the DNC's plan B? Because they have one. Could it be Governor Cuomo? That's what I'm hearing. A lot of talk about Cuomo. But then that kind of is unfair to all the other candidates that debated and raised money and did all that stuff to be on the debate stage. And they worked so hard. So I'm thinking they're going to want the VP pick, because I think that's how they're going to do it. They're going to find a VP pick. So put next to Joe, probably someone of color or a woman. I mean, maybe they can find somebody who's a woman of color who's also a transvestite. You know how the Democrats are. That's probably what they're going for. But that could be Michelle. I'm just saying. Then Biden. Okay, when he is off camera as much as possible right now, and he's a gaffe machine, and they all know it. We all know it. But we have to challenge the Democratic Party / mainstream media. They're the same thing. We have to challenge them on intellectual honesty, because they're not doing it. They're not having any intellectual honesty. Every show I've watched, I'm talking about The View. I'm talking about ABC News. I'm talking about CNN. I'm talking about Rachel Madcow. I'm talking about all of them. John Lemon, all of them. Don Lemon, whatever. They are all, every time you watch them, I'm sitting there taking notes, but basically they say the same thing. No matter what subject you bring up, you could bring up fried fish, and somehow it's going to get around to and Trump's a bad guy. But any subject. And I've watched it on The View, and I'm thinking, that's a special kind of talent that they have, that they can turn any subject matter into an I hate Trump moment. And so that's intellectually dishonest. Because if they were to write down what they were going to say, how can everything point towards I hate Trump? I mean, that doesn't even make sense in a conversation, let alone, propagating it on national TV daily, all day, 24/7. Because, our news cycle never ends. So I want to find out if anybody's going to challenge them. I know there are some on Fox who do nightly. I know Hannity challenges them. I do know that. And I know Tucker does. But I'd like to see more people challenge them and say, every single time they say, Trump lies, he lies, they never say what the lie is that he supposedly told. They never do. Because if he was, in fact, lying as often as they say, they would say he lied. Remember when he said this when it was really that? You don't hear that. Well, he lies. That's how they describe everything, and they expect us to buy that hook, line, and sinker because, hey, we're Americans. We just buy everything they say. We're just like dumb idiots, right? No, I don't think so. Not the people I know. Not my friends. And hopefully not your friends. No, we're not stupid. They play us for stupid every day. And it's insulting. That's why I call them an intellectual honesty, because that is why I am a Republican. I had to be intellectually honest. I know what I stand for. I know what I believe. And that falls in line with the Republican Party. More so than the party of sin, which is the Democratic Party. And that's the party that they want to get away with having all sorts of weird kinds of sex and everything. Just weird stuff. Women wearing vaginas and things like that. That's not me. That's not of God. That is something I can't even go near that kind of nonsense. Oh gosh. If I, for 1 second, when I was a little girl watching, Laura Petrie, remember on Dick Van Dyke, and how they didn't even sleep in the same bed, and they weren't allowed to sit on the same bed unless one foot was on the floor. Those were the rules for TV, because they didn't want to give a bad example. But nowadays, it's completely the opposite. They have no problem giving horrible example after example after example. And now, we have people who are confused, and they're the ones calling the shots on mainstream media. And I find that to be really kind of repulsive. But I feel powerless to do anything about it because they're so big, and I'm just me. All I can do is vote, and I can talk to my friends and my family. Of course, most of my family doesn't listen to me. I mean, my kids barely listen to me. And my family, I have a few conservatives in my family. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because a lot of people are afraid to talk about their politics because they are surrounded by a family that's full of leftists or who they believe they are leftist. And I want to tell you, fear not, develop a thick skin. You don't have to go in swinging. You don't have to go in saying, you're wrong, I'm right, so shut up. It's tempting, but you don't have to do all that. I always plant a seed. But what I'm finding out is when you ask them the same questions that you ask yourself, like, do you really think that the open borders was good for this country? And their answer cannot be, yes, it's good for our country. No, you know what their answer is going to be? It's going to be, but what about those kids in cages? That's what their answer is going to be. It's not going to be because you ask them that direct question. How can those open borders, which brings in 95% of our drugs and sex slaves, and trafficking and all that kind of thing, how can that be good for our country? And I guarantee you will bring up kids in cages. And then they'll tell you you're supposed to feel really bad because who's going to pick the tomatoes and the strawberries? Oh, so they think that the people from south of the border are only good for that. I see. So aren't they being the racist there? Why can't America pick those things? We're capable. We have opposable thumbs. So that's a racist statement when they come back at you with that. because we do take it for granted that somebody's going to do the hard labor in this country, but we are perfectly capable of doing that ourselves. Make no mistake. And many of us will be needing jobs, as I said, I believe, on my last show. So whenever people say, well, we're not going to talk about religion and politics, honey, it was always about religion and politics. What do you think today? Today is Good Friday. This is the day Jesus Christ hung from a cross, died at 3 p.m., approximately 3 p.m. That is the hour we say a prayer. Is that the hour that he died and he descended to the dead for 3 days at 3 o'clock. That was politics. Sure, it was about forgiveness of our sins. That's religion. Yeah, already. But he was there on the cross because of politics, because of Pontius Pilate. And he didn't want to take the responsibility. He was kind of like the president at the time, not the United States president, but you know what I mean, because it was biblical times. And actually, I think we are in biblical times today. I know a lot of people use the word biblical times, meaning in the past, in the Bible. Those were biblical times. I'm here to tell you that today we are in biblical times. Today. Jesus died on the cross. We talk about that today. We pray on that today. We meditate on that today. But we have to remember that it was always politics and religion. The two things we were warned not to talk about. And guess what? They took our religion away. A couple weeks ago, quarantine, closed down all of our churches here in the United States of America. Still don't think it's about politics and religion? It's all about politics and religion. They've been selling us sex to our children at a younger and younger age. They make people think that they're animals and they have no control over their bodies. Like, you can't help it. I don't know. She couldn't help it. She got pregnant. Yeah, you can help it. Everybody can help it. It's called self-control. Everybody can help it. Because we're not the animals in the field. We're not the animals in the woods or the jungle. We're not those kind of animals. We are humans made in the image of God. So, get off my pedestal there. I just had to say that because whenever I see, I think what brought this up was I was watching this television show called TMZ. And it's all about different sins. Pretty much it's what the whole show's about. This one did this one, and this one did do that. And anyways, today there was some rapper. I wrote down the name, but I don't even think most of the people that I know who would listen to my show would even recognize the name of this rapper because I didn't recognize it. I don't listen to rap because it talks badly about people. But this rapper was on video and he was talking about still hooking up with girls. How they come to his pad with him and his bros are sitting there waiting for these girls to arrive at his pad. Oh my gosh. Have we sunk so low, people? I mean, I guess we have, apparently, because, this is talked about on daytime TV. So he is saying that and bragging, and the people on TMZ who promote sex day in and day out, 24/7, TMZ is about the worst. Here Harvey is on there, and then this other girl who's on there often. They're all, sequestered in their apartments or wherever they're filming from because they're doing the right thing and staying separate from other people because it's the right thing to do. And it's so wonderful to see that they're concerned about doing the right thing. But anyway, so he's like, oh my gosh, after we're finding out about African Americans being disproportionately dying and affected by this coronavirus, how can they do that? It is just wrong. And then the girl's trying to, she goes, yes, it's just wrong. If you guys want to hook up after this is all over, that's one thing. But now we have to do what is right. Oh my gosh, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. TMZ talking about right and wrong.